Okay. Excellent. Okay, we're slowly coming over onto the live and setting up. Here we are. Okay, hey. So for everyone that is slowly coming in to join us, hello. We're doing a live chat with our certification leadership today, talking about the ACS CCP, the exam, what to expect this year, and how to kind of prepare. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to slowly let everybody come into the chat before I have people start introducing themselves. But if you don't know me, hi, I'm Heather. I'm our program manager over here at ACS. And thank you so much for coming today. What today's live is going to be about is how to apply for our ACS CCP exam, what to kind of expect on the day with the exam, and some light conversation about how to prepare and to leave some space for everybody to ask us questions. And okay, we're slowly getting a nice little group coming in. So I'm going to ask if our certification leadership can introduce themselves. Trevor, would you mind kicking us off?
Sure. I'm Trevor Thomas. I work for Lactalis American Group, and I'm the certification chair for this year. And I became a CCP in 2014 in Sacramento, California.
Excellent. And why don't you go next, Molly?
Hi, I'm Molly Brown. I'm the Education Director for Dairy Farmers of Wisconsin and also the Vice Chair of the ACS Certification Committee. I got my CCP in Madison, Wisconsin in 2013, and I'm also a CCSE.
Fancy. Aw, thank you for joining us, Molly. And we also have Nathan. Nathan, would you mind introducing yourself?
Hi, everybody. I'm Nathan Aldridge. I run the Institut du Fromage. And I am on the committee, new to the committee this year, and I am a CCP as well as a CCSE.
Oh my God, so many CCSEs on this one too. And last but certainly not least, Jamie, would you mind introducing yourself as well?
Yeah, hi, my name's Jamie Peng. I have a background as a cheesemaker and a cheesemonger, and I currently work for ACS as the organization's cheese industry professional, and one of my responsibilities is to manage the certification program.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Jamie. Okay, and on that note, we've got a nice little audience. Let's dive in, guys. All right, I'm going to go over here and hit next on the first slide and pass it over to you, Trevor.
So welcome. If you're signing into this class, you're probably getting prepared to take the CCP test, and we're grateful you are. This is our coming up on our 11th year of doing this exam. It started back in 2012, was the very first year that we had our exam. And so today's class is really just to kind of walk you through a lot of the common questions that come up, how to register. We have some great kind of surprises for you in store. So like, here's today's agenda. So how do you apply for it? Prior to the exam, what do you need to do? Or what kind of preparations do you need to do on your end? Then we'll look at the exam day, like what it looks like, what it feels like, what to expect, what to bring, what not to bring, how to prepare for it. What to expect after the exam is over, and then about the certified cheese professional status itself. We'll talk a little bit about recertification, and then we'll open it up for questions for you.
Awesome. I'm going to take this one. So how to apply for the ACS CCP exam. I have got great news. It's a pretty straightforward process. You will want to navigate to cheesesociety.org, and under the certification tab, you'll be able to find your way to the application. Some important notes about the application. You cannot save your progress and come back to it. So you're going to want to set aside about 20 to 25 minutes to complete the form. On the application, we just ask you for things like relevant work experience. We will ask for a little bit of verification of that work experience, because there is a requirement if you're going to apply for the CCP exam that you have worked for 4,000 hours in our industry. So I believe that is equivalent to 2 years of full-time work. And that is really who this exam is open to. You know, you shouldn't feel like if you only have 2 years of full-time experience, you know, that you're going to know absolutely everything that's on the test at this point. You know, the CCP exam is really meant to be a measure of your acquired knowledge from working within the cheese industry. So even some industry veterans will find this exam very useful, and we encourage you to apply as well. It's also important to remember that this is not just a cheesemonger test or a cheesemaker test. This is a certified cheese professional test. So this is really looking at domains, which we'll talk about a little bit later in this presentation, but really looking at domains of information from all different sides of the cheese industry. So that's sort of, you know, who we tool this exam for, you know, and who we think will find it useful is pretty much everybody in the industry who's worked for at least 4,000 hours. So this year we're doing things slightly different than we have in years past. We actually have the option to take a virtual exam. We offered a virtual exam during the pandemic and found that this was a very useful way for many people to take it and sort of expand the accessibility of the exam. So we are offering both an in-person and a virtual exam this year. They will be offered at the same time. It is just up to you. Would you rather come to conference and sit in a room with a bunch of other people who are taking the test, or would you prefer to stay home and take the test individually on your own? We'll talk a little bit more about the requirements for the virtual exam in a little bit as well. So you can see some of the cost information here. The test is $500 for ACS members, $650 for non-ACS members, plus the $35 application fee. We've got a helpful link, it looks like here. And there is, I think, more information about how to apply on the website. They'll really walk you through everything you need to know there.
For those of you following live, we've also got the link and linked into the comments, and this recording will be available later along with this PowerPoint and more links. Okay. Okay, I think we're going into what happens after you apply.
Yeah, Nathan, you want to take this one?
Yeah. So after you apply, you're going to need to pay close attention for emails from ACS. So also just to be aware, like check your junk email, just in case sometimes things get filtered through. A lot of work emails that can happen that way. So just be on the lookout. Help us by doing your due diligence by looking out for those emails. You should hear back within about 30 days after you submit your application. Sometimes it could be a little bit sooner than that, but give us at least 30 days for that. Big thing, once you get your email, we're going to make sure that we need to get your final payment by May 15th. That way you can secure your spot with that payment. And we get this from time to time where people have studied for the exam, they're getting ready, it gets close to date, something happens in your life, and whether you're moving, you got to go do something, and maybe you're not in the position where you can take the exam this year. So what what we'd like for you to be able to do is you can defer till next year. So if that happens, you need to be able to reach out to us at ACS, and we're accepting deferrals until June 1st. After that, there's going to be a cost for that. But don't feel bad about taking it. But I would suggest if you start studying now and you're working towards it, then do everything you can to continue to study and stick to it and take the exam. You'll be able to do it. We believe in you.
A quick word about deferrals to add on to that is that according to our rules, we do allow you to defer twice. So if you decide to defer this year, You can take it next year. Next year comes around, you're still not in a good spot to do it. You can defer it again, but then that's it for deferrals. You're going to have to take it the next time. So if you defer twice, this year and next year, then you'll need to take it in 2025. And otherwise, you'll have to reapply and go through all of that again.
All right, so prior to exam days, you do need to know there are study groups out there. If you are finding some out there, just remember just what Molly gave you the information on. This is a cheese professional exam. It's very easy when studying and preparing for this to just go down rabbit holes on research. And you just need to remember, what would a cheese professional need to? What are the need to know things that a cheese professional would need to know? And the second point is, it's not too early to start preparing. You should be able to dedicate some time weekly to study for this, and give yourself an hour or 2 or 3 per week. There's a lot of good study resources out there. There's a number of books that are recommended, but not required to read. I think there's a list of resources on there on the website. And also look for study buddies. Like if you have somebody in your geographic area that is taking it, or I mean, Zoom and Teams are all so easy. If you can study with one of your friends to prepare for this ahead of time and challenge each other, that's always the best thing. And when making notes and studying flashcards, really focus in on what you don't know. So like for me, I didn't know a whole lot about distribution. So I reached out to one of my friends that was in the distribution side of the business and was able to work with them on some distribution questions.
And for some more study resources, the good thing is the American Cheese Society has put together several great study materials for you that you can find on the website. You can go through there, look for the CCP exam preparation guide, and that's going to lead you to a blueprint. But also you're going to see a link for the ACS lexicon and glossary. That is something to download, look at and memorize, as well as the best practice guide for cheesemakers. Those are good resources to use and study that are already there, plus information found on the website. And how the exam is broken down, this is a lovely blueprint, a lot of colors, a lot of lines on it. But I want to break this down because it can look a little intimidating. You got a circle here, you got a pie chart, all this. But what we want to focus on is there are 11 domains of study, of knowledge. So if you look on the left, the far top left, you're going to see domain of health, regulations, and food safety. Then operations, then cheese history, definitions, and categorization. Then you'll see milk, cheese making, ripening, assessment and evaluation, selling and transporting, inventory management, service, and business principles and practices. This is all broken down on the website with links to things to look up if you want to continue studying in each of those. And then if we keep moving over to the right, you'll see that all of the domains are broken into a couple of different buckets. So you're going to have business practices. And if you see, it's laid out in a way that tells you exactly what to expect. We've got a lot of questions on this, 150 questions. So it tells you right here, 25 questions are going to be about business practices. And if you look to the left, the way to read this is business practices. You're going to get asked some from each of these buckets. So there's business practices that have to do with health and regulations. There's business practices with operations and so on and so forth. So that kind of, it's kind of broad, but it still narrows it down for you really where you want to study. Then you move over to procure product. And as you see, it's not as much. It doesn't deal with every single domain of knowledge. So, you know, for procuring product, you're going to have 15 questions that you can focus on just a few of the domains. You don't have to worry about every domain in that study guide right there. Then we have receive product. That's going to be 13 questions. So you need to know about receiving. Like Trevor was saying earlier, you know, there's going to be parts of this exam and looking at this, whether it's inventory management, selling product, food and safety practices. Some of these you may know right off the bat because of your current role or where you may have worked in the past. I came at this from a cheesemonger mindset. So I felt strong in selling product and food safety. Of course, I reviewed every bit of that. You know, I still studied for it, but I felt really confident in that. But, you know, I didn't do a lot of receiving. I didn't do a lot of shipping. So those areas that I knew and I could admit to myself where I was a little weak, I spent more time working on that. But this guide is just great to say. So selling product, that's going to be 48 questions. That's big. So anywhere in the guides that you read and the materials that you study from, if you see things talking about selling product, you know to pay a lot of attention to that because that's a bulk of the exam. And not only that, but food safety. The way I like to put it when I talk to people about this exam, look at this bar that's running across. And if there's something that you read in your study materials that affects each and every aspect of the cheese world that we're living in, whether it's animal husbandry, feed, milking, cheese making, everything that leads to the end result of selling, if it encompasses or touches all of that, then there's a high likelihood it's going to be on this exam. The good thing is having 4,000 hours minimum experience, you should be at a point where you have a good understanding of a lot of this. And I would say, hopefully you're at a point where 75% of this material you've had in your head before and you're refreshing. And there may be about 25% that you're like, okay, this is all new or this is a lot deeper than I've gone before. And that's okay. I'm just saying this to kind of help put you at ease. There's a lot of information that could be asked from a broad range, but here this blueprint will really help narrow it down for you. And I call this the study guide. This, if you go through here, read this and understand it, you're going to have a good understanding of what's going to be on the exam. Would anybody add anything to that, Trevor?
Oh, no, you covered it great.
Excellent.
I would add just that, you know, the three big lenses that I try to look at things through in terms of like, what is a cheese professional? There are sort of broad buckets. Like you think throughout the supply chain, there's makers, there's distributors, and there's retail, right? So there's sort of like the three, you know, big lenses that you might want to think about each one of these things through. So if you're, you know, like Nathan was when he took the CCP, if you're a cheesemonger and you think, you know, yeah, I know about, you know, inventory management and selling product, well, also think through, how does inventory management work at my distributor's warehouse? You know, how does it work in, you know, in a production facility? How do manufacturers sell their product that's different than how I sell my product? And that's where you're really able, I think, to tap into some of those more nuanced parts of what makes this a cheese professional exam, is that it is really intended to be well-rounded and intended to look at the information, not just through the job, you know, the tasks you perform in your role at your specific job, but to have an understanding of how cheese moves through the supply chain and how is food safety handled at a manufacturer level versus at a retail level. And I think if you can really understand like the big picture of things through those lenses, you'll be in really good shape for this.
Absolutely.
That was really well said. Thank you guys so much. If you guys have any questions that are watching right now, or those that are watching later, please feel free to email us, or you can stick it into the comments right now and we'll address them at the end. I'm gonna move on to the next slide. Move on to the next slide. Okay, moving on. Okay, virtual exam.
All right, so Jamie, maybe you can lead us on this one.
Sure, yeah. So this year we are offering a virtual option for the exam. It will be held simultaneously with the in-person exam. And so you'll have to convert whatever time zone you're in to 1 p.m. Central. If you're in Eastern time, then that's what, 2 p.m. Eastern?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So convert that to your own time zone. It's the exact same exam, so it's 150 questions. It's the same as what will be given in person. The only difference is that with the virtual exam, we break it up into 2 parts so that you can take a break in between to go get water or eat or go to the bathroom. And then you'll come back and start the second. How we make sure that we maintain the integrity of the exam is that we have a virtual proctoring software that you will need to download onto your computer. So you need to download that, and then you'll need to download the program that will administer the test and that you will, click through to actually complete the assessment. We will have more information about what system requirements you'll need to take the virtual exam. We do already have people applying to take the virtual exam. It's the same application. There's just a question at the start saying, are you applying to take it virtually or in person? And so you just select whichever one, and then we'll sort you into different groups, and we'll, send virtual exam takers the appropriate information. So, yeah.
Just a really important note about the exam this year, both virtual and in person. The exam has traditionally been held on Wednesday, which is the day that conference activities really get started. Conference is bumped up by a day this year. So the exam is also bumped up by a day. So if you've taken the exam in the past, or you've worked with exam takers in the past, and you're thinking Tuesday, they're having the exam on a Tuesday this year, that's not a typo. That is correct. The rhythm of conference will be a little bit different this year. And the exams will be held on Tuesday, not Wednesday.
Thank you for calling that out, Molly. And the other things that are happening normally, traditionally on the day when we have the in-person exam will also happen. So there's still a reception after you take the exam if you need to have an unwind moment with all the other fellow people that have just taken the exam with you. And there is still the cheese crawl that happens that evening. So you can go out with people, have some cheese, have a nice night. So there's still some other stuff after the exam too that will traditionally stay. Excellent. So I think that's a first good intro. We'll talk a little bit more in detail about the virtual exam as we go along through the presentation. Next slide. Everybody good for next slide? Cool. The exam in person.
So Nathan and I will take this one because Jamie will be leading the virtual one, but Nathan and I will be the in-person. So when you get there on the 18th to register, you will see Nathan and I running around. The test is just like the virtual one. It's 150 questions, but we're not breaking it up into 2 parts. So once you're in that room, we kind of like lock the doors. There will be volunteers on site to help direct the exam takers, like where to go. Like you want to get to registration early. When you come to registration, we'll want to make sure that you have your license with you, so that we're making sure that the actual person registered for it is taking the exam. And the exam is proctored. So what that means is during the test taking, you'll be in a large room with many other people, and we'll be walking around there to make sure that everybody's on the up and up, and there's no cheating involved. We take this very seriously. We know how long we've studied for this, and we're trying to protect the integrity of the exam.
Anything else to say here? Want me to move on to next slide?
Oh, next slide, and I think it's also about it.
Yeah, I think
Okay, what ACS provides for the in-person exam.
Nathan, you can take that one.
yeah. So we want you're not going to need anything when you come in. Like that's something to remember. You just need to bring your person. I suggest, some of these big rooms, these big conference rooms can run a little chilly. And if you run a little chilly, you can have a sweater, a jacket, a little coat or something. I would suggest that if you do run a little bit cold. But we're going to provide for you a question sheet exam. So this is a Scantron. If you're looking at the pictures, that's what we're looking at. There's going to be you're going to have a Scantron sheet as well as a test paper with the questions. And you're going to need, of course, I want to point out, do your due diligence in making sure that you're bubbling in the right number with the right answer. Question 1 goes in bubble 1. Make sure you do that. Also, you're going to need to make sure you fill out your name correctly. Do all that well. But we're going to get you a Scantron. We're going to provide pencil. You don't need to bring a pen. You don't need to bring anything. We provide that for you. We provide a calculator, cups, and water. So we don't want you really even bringing in a bottled water. We're going to provide. We'll have water in the back of the room for you. If you need to get up, get a cup of water, that's going to be okay. You will also be able to, in this 3 hours, take a bathroom break. We're going to have a lot of proctors around. We will be able to escort you if you need to leave the room for just a moment. But everything else, like I said, you just need to bring yourself. Everything else you're going to need to check in at the coat check. Did we have a slide about that, or I need to just talk about it?
We do have a slide about that one. Let's see.
Excellent.
I think
Kind of leads right into it.
What not to bring is our next slide.
There we go. What not to bring. There's going to be some things you're just not going to need. Hopefully you're going to be staying at the hotel. We recommend if you can, leave your personal items in the hotel. You can't bring them in with you. So we do not want you to bring water bottles. We don't want you to bring cell phones, are not allowed. You can't bring a cell phone in, not at all. No tablets, no smartwatches, even those health trackers that can receive text messages or any other computer devices. We're doing our best to make sure we're creating an environment that is cheat free, that allows you to express your knowledge completely after studying. We're prohibiting hats, bags, purses. Fanny packs are in style now, so you're not going to need any of that. If you do happen to bring it with you, we will have a coat check, and we're going to ask that you check that in, even your cell phone. So please do bring it. Leave it in your hotel if you can. No recording devices, no heavy coats or jackets. Like you don't need to be sneaking things in. A sweater, cardigan, something small that, something light to keep you a little bit warm is not a problem, but you don't need a 3-layered heavy jacket with lots of pockets. We want to deter any cheating. I don't think we have a lot of issues with that, but our goal is to make sure too that everyone in the room is comfortable without any of these things.
I'm just going to nip in here and say that what you are allowed to bring, if you need it, any medications or anything like that, kind of, that you need. We also allow people to take breaks if they need to take medication or otherwise look after their health in any way. Just flag down a proctor, and the proctor will, escort you out, find a quiet place for you to sit. You can do whatever. A word of note about the hats. Obviously, we don't need you bringing in a fedora. However, if it's a headscarf or if it's some other head covering that's really personal to you, that you really would feel uncomfortable not wearing, we do allow that. So, just letting everybody know that.
Good call out.
Yes, thank you for pointing that out, Jamie. We're not going to ask you to take off your hijab. We will not ask you to do that.
Right.
So I'm going to go on to the next slide. Any other stuff that you guys want to call out, like extras, need to knows with bringing or not bringing? We're good? Okay. So next one I think is with our preparing for the virtual exam.
Okay, so how to prepare for the virtual exam in terms of logistics. Firstly, make sure that during those 3 hours of your exam, you're able to be in a place that's quiet, where you won't be disturbed, and where you have a stable internet connection. So, try and be in a place where people aren't walking behind you, because with our AI proctoring software, sometimes that can, set it off a little bit. Next is that we do again, AI proctoring software, we require a camera and microphone on your computer to be on and kind of monitoring you. There isn't anyone human on the other end of that watching you. However, the AI software will flag if, you know, they notice any unusual activity, like you leave when you're, you know, when it's not the break time, or you're constantly looking up in one direction. Sometimes, you know, most of the time in the last 2 years that we ran the virtual exam, we didn't have any problem. You know, it was some things as innocuous as, you know, someone didn't have the angle of the camera pointing at them. And so the AI program flagged that, but obviously we could see that the person was there, which just wasn't, you know. And then another thing is, if you don't have your own computer, or if you're going to be using your employer's computer, just make sure beforehand that your IT department or whoever is in charge of computery things at your workplace knows what the system requirements are. So definitely forward that information onto them once we send it to you. So with the virtual exam, we will be asking you to do what we call a mock exam. It's not really a mock exam. It's more like a tech run for the exam, just to check that your system works, you know how to log in, you know, the camera works, all of that. So it's more like a systems check. So you don't come in expecting like a 10-question, you know, mock exam for the CCP. We're going to ask you really simple questions like, you know, I don't know, is Canada north or south of the US? That kind of thing. And then finally, you will receive more information than this closer to the exam time. If you are applying to do the virtual exam this year, we will, the both of us, be doing this together for the first time. So again, if there are any lags in communication, or if we need extra time to find out answers to questions that you may have, please be patient, and we will definitely get you what you need. It might just take a while for us to figure out how to get there.
And I wanted to add, like with the mock exam and with IT service, like if you're using a company computer, we've tried to give you a good stretch of time of a couple of weeks. So you do the mock exam, and then you see if your computer is the proper one that we need to do, or if you can't take the mock exam, you can work with your IT service to give you access. Because sometimes security software blocks the program from accessing your mic and your camera, and we sometimes have to do some extra steps. And I just also want to point out, this exam, you can't take it like on your smartphone. Here, I'll pick a mic. Can't take it like on your smartphone. You can't do it on a tablet. It does have to be on a desktop or a laptop of some kind. So just make sure when you're thinking about making that choice, you keep that in mind with your planning. And we did have a question that I thought might be a good place to stick this in here instead of keeping it to the end. We had a couple people that asked, what if you register for the in-person exam and something pops up and you want to change to take the virtual exam? Is that a possibility?
So to illustrate my last point, I don't know. Obviously, if we do allow it, there will be a deadline. It will probably be around the deferral deadline, maybe around the same time. However, we haven't finalized that yet.
The only thing I would add to that is that if you did that, you'd still need to follow all these rules here, that you'd have to have the equipment and the capability of being able to have a computer that meets those requirements.
Excellent. So for the couple people that asked, it's still a little squishy, but we can try and work with you if it's possible. So I'm going to go on to the next slide, guys, if you feel okay with that.
Yes.
Excellent. And thank you for everybody listening. As we go through all the details, please continue to ask us questions. The exam in person, what to expect?
Yeah, so I'll take this one. I think we covered some of this before. 150 multiple choice questions, There's going to be 4 possible answers to each question. There's going to be 1 right answer and 3 distractors. They seem kind of right, but there's only 1 true right answer. There is some math required on this. I know a lot of people stress out about this, and we do have a practice question to go over with you today to maybe help alleviate some of that stress. If we do ask a question that involves temperatures, it's going to be displayed in both Fahrenheit and Celsius. Yes, there is going to be mention of European as well as American cheeses on there, even though this is the American Cheese Society exam. European cheeses have a huge background on many of the American cheeses that are so popular today. And the questions and answers are randomized. Also, when you're taking the exam, the person sitting next to you, they're going to have an entirely different test. We have multiple different tests that are out there, so your test packet is not going to be the same as the person next to you.
Now we've got
All
the
right.
fun part, sample questions.
So it wouldn't be a great introduction to the exam without giving you some kind of idea of questions that you could get asked. But know that if you see it today, you're probably not going to see it on the exam. So it's all multiple choice. So what we're looking for is the best answer. And we're going to look for keywords within this question. At what temperature and time does the Pasteurized Milk Ordinance, the PMO, specify for vat pasteurization? So when I'm reading that question, and if I'm going in and I'm studying, number 1, I want to know what PMO is. I want to know what the Pasteurized Milk Ordinance is. And because they're going to set forth some rules that's specific for vat pasteurization. And that's what's going to cut out anything else leading into it if you're getting confused. There's specific amount, a specific temperature and time for this. All right, let's go to the next slide and we'll see if you guys have an answer in your head.
Okay, I'm going to hit it. Pick your answer really fast, guys. Okay, answer B.
B is in Bravo. So for vat pasteurization, the Pasteurized Milk Ordinance declares 145 degrees Fahrenheit or 63 degrees Celsius for 30 minutes. So here you can look at this, and at the bottom you see that there is a source where this comes from and what task area. It's in the health regulations and food safety section. There was only one right answer for this. And if you go through the test, you may be confused. Look for those very specific words that'll take you to the right mindset. So there's different pasteurizations, right? There's fast time pasteurization, but here they want vat. You know it's going to take 30 minutes for that vat at 145 degrees. So this one's more cut and dry. The questions on the exam aren't meant to trick you. It's not a vindictive test in any way. It's more or less being able to know the facts. And I think it's pretty cut and dry.
Excellent. Thank you,
All right.
Nathan. Ready for the next question? We've got a couple sample questions, guys. Okay, let go. Sample question number 2.
Molly, you want to take that one?
I don't right now. Could you take that one?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
So
I'm attending to an issue in the chat. So
okay.
I'll take out the back end, you take the
Hang
front
on.
end. That'd be great. Thank you.
When receiving Epoix cheese, what visual aspects should you inspect to ensure the quality of this cheese? So is it A, free of dust mites or cracking, B, consistent wax or cryovac seal, C, broken rind or pooling of liquid cheese, or D, consistency in the fluffy white rind? So this question is really designed on your testing your knowledge of what Epoix looks like. Is it a cheese that could get dust mites or cracking? Does it have a wax seal? Could it get a broken rind or pooling liquid cheese? Or does it have a fluffy white rind? So let's go to the next page and see the answer.
Okay, everybody think real hard, make your decision on your answer and click C.
So yeah, if you knew what it looked like, then you'd know that the only correct answer could be that it's free of a broken rind and pooling of liquid cheese. And then we'll go on to question number 3.
Excellent. Okay, exam question number 3. It's math.
Yeah, so this is one of those tricky math questions that everybody is afraid of. But how many ounces of fat are there in a 1 pound cheese that has 65% moisture content and 70% fat and dry matter? Is it A, 3.12 ounces, B, 3.92 ounces, C, 7.28 ounces, or D, 11.2 ounces?
I'm gonna make
You
some.
need to know how to calculate this, and we're going to give you the answer, but then we're also going to show you how it was calculated so you guys can take some notes. So get your pencils and paper ready.
Okay, I'm gonna do some Jeopardy noise for a second so people can do math. Do, 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 do. Speed run. Okay. All right, guys. We'll show you the answer, and like Trevor said, we're also going to show you how to do the math.
Yeah.
The answer is B.
3.92 ounces. Now we'll show you how we calculated that.
So this is how you got that answer.
Yep. So it's 1 pound of cheese equals 16 ounces. You take the 0.65 moisture equals the opposite of that would be 0.35 dry matter. 16 ounces of cheese times 0.35 dry matter times 0.70 fat will give you 3.92 ounces. So that's a formula, and you need to do it in that order. If you reversed it, it would not work. It would not come out the same. So it's important to follow that formula.
Okay. Anybody have any questions more about math before we go on to the next slide? Okay. So next slide. Post-exam day.
So post-exam day, so what happens after the exam is taken? Like how long will it take? And why does it take so long? So you're going to hear back in an email form within about 45 days after taking the exam. So why does it take so long? Well, the best answer I can give you is after we take all of your exams, whether it's virtual or the in-person, and we run them all through, if we find that there's an error, like many more people got question 29 wrong than should have, then we go back, we look at that question and go, is it worded improperly? Is there a better way that we could have worded it? And as a result, we might throw out that question. So now you're being judged on the best out of or 149 questions. So that's why it takes so long. And we develop a passing score. So everybody asks me, like, what is that passing score? And the answer is, we're not going to tell you. The only thing that we report back is how many people passed the exam. That's it. We don't talk about how many people failed it. We don't talk about how many people signed up for it. Only how many people passed. That's what you get out on that announcement. And when I think it's on the next slide, but when it is announced, you'll get an email that day that'll tell you how you did. And you either passed or you didn't pass. If you didn't pass, it'll tell you where your domains that you were needed more work on. So if it was safety and sanitation, if that was your weak area, then you'd know you'd want to brush up on that for the taking of the next step.
Excellent. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next slide. Certified cheese professional.
Okay, I'm going to take this one. So when you become an ACS certified cheese professional, what exactly do you get? First of all, you get like extreme validation of all of your hard work and all of your knowledge, and you get to feel like the smartest guy in the room pretty much everywhere you go. So that's the main reason I recommend taking this exam. However, if that's not enough of a selling point for you, you also get a lapel pin, a patch, and an electronic certificate that you can print out, hang on your wall, and feel very fancy while you're at home as well. Or give it to your employer to make sure that they know that you did all this work and have this awesome new credential to add to your resume. You are also mentioned in our database of CCPs, which is on the American Cheese Society website. So cheesesociety.org allows anybody really in the whole world to go in there and look up CCPs by various regions, and you will be listed there, which is great. We will promote you via press release when the passing class is announced. So there's just a lot of good reasons to do it. Many employers offer incentives. This is, again, it is a great resume builder. It's just sort of a way to verify, that you have, you're educated in your field, you know what you're talking about. You've gone through a very rigorous credentialing exam, and you've passed. So it's a lot of great reasons to do it. It can definitely be a career builder. And yeah, that's all I have to say about that.
And don't forget that those electronic certificates you can also post on social media. We're giving you full bragging rights.
And sure, I will cut in since we just got that question about that electronic certificate. So once you pass your certification, you will then be directed to fill out a little form on our learning center here at ACS, and then you'll be given an electronic certificate that, like Trevor said, you can post on social media, put it in your LinkedIn, put it in a couple different places. We have some CCPs that they, every year when they get their new certification after they recertify, stuff we're going to talk about in a second, they reframe it and they put it on their wall that goes with some of their other different certifications and diplomas. So you would be directed to fill out a form and then you will have your certification.
And this is a really big deal. So, you get all this, but you get it so you can promote yourself, no matter what area of the food industry you're working in, distribution or sales, or even if you work in a restaurant. But by telling your customers and your consumers and showing them that you've taken the time to get to know cheese and become an expert in this field, it really shows the type of person that you are, your dedication, your passion for the product, and it's going to help elevate you in whatever field that you're currently in.
And Maria has an excellent question. Do you need to renew your certification, which I think is our next slide.
Segue.
It's not the next slide. Yeah, here we are.
You absolutely need to recertify. We want to make sure you're still hanging in the cheese world. Anybody that's been in the cheese world knows we're a pretty unique family. We're a tight-knit group and we lift each other up and there's a lot of support. But with this great certification, we need to know that you're still in the field after a few years. And it is something you do need to recertify. Any certification out there, you're going to have to continue to learn, recertify, continue to show that you have hours in the industry. So yes, and we want to make sure you do that. Take pride in recertifying. It happens, it lasts for 3 years. So you're going to need to recertify every 3 years. It happens around the fall, not an exact date, but you'll get an email about it. And about that email, make sure whatever email that you're using with the American Cheese Society, that you have a permanent email address. Sometimes people jump from job to job or may move jobs, whatever. And if you had your old job's email tied in with this certificate, then we're not going to be able to find you right off the bat. So whatever you do, everybody should have a personal email anyway, but be able to use that so we can find you throughout the years. Recertification requires proof of continued professional development, which may include verification and additional education. And it's also a good time to point out all the things you've been doing while working in cheese, whether you're attending educational classes or continuously working on the counter or working in sales or working in whatever capacity in the industry. But please do recertify. Make sure if you know cheese CCPs out there right now, make sure we get them to recertify as well.
I'm now also going to jump in here, and I get this question a lot, but no, you do not have to retake the exam to recertify. So recertifying is just basically an attestation that, yeah, I'm still in the industry, and I would like to keep my CCP. Recertification does cost $75. However, we waive the fee if you attended an ACS conference in the last 3 years. And we usually send out an email to everyone who's eligible to recertify in around October. If you believe you are eligible, but you don't receive that email, definitely get in touch with us, info@cheesesociety.org, and say, I thought I was supposed to recertify, I didn't get an email. Sometimes it could be that we don't have the most updated email address for you, which is why we ask for a permanent email address. And other times it, might just be because maybe you got assigned to the wrong year by accident. So yeah, definitely look out for that email. And if you don't get it when it's your turn to recertify, let us know.
And you're not taking the 150 question test over again when you recertify. It's basically making sure you're still in the industry and you're still continuing to learn.
But I will say that if you let your certification lapse, the policy is that you do have to retake the exam to regain the credential. If you let if you don't recertify during your recertification period, your certification lapses, you could find yourself having to take the exam again in the future. So best thing to do is make sure you use that permanent email address, or we'll be able to find you no matter where you're hiding, and take care of your recertification in a timely way.
And it also goes hand in hand where people ask us, it's like, gosh, you're blasting recertification a lot on social media and sending me so many general emails about it. It's because we're trying to find all of you guys out there to make sure, because we don't want to make you take the exam again. So this is share with a friend if you think someone needs to recertify 1 year too. If you see a social media post, share that with a friend that you recertify.
Tony up that yahoo.com email address, people. We know you've had it for the last 24 years at least.
Okay, I'm seeing some more questions. We're going to get to that some more questions in just a second. Let's see if we've got one more slide here. And we are done. We are done with the main part of the presentation, and we're going to start taking some questions and going over some other different things. So please, guys, if you've got questions, put them in there. I'm seeing some very specific ones, and I had some people ping me privately. So I have 2 questions to start off with that I know you guys know the answer to already. I had a couple people ask me. 1, how many people pass and fail the certification exam every year?
We're not going to answer that.
I know you're not. But what is the policy of saying of how many people pass and fail? Like we don't answer that question,
Right.
And why we don't answer that question.
Yep. Oh, like why? Why don't
Yes.
we give that?
Would you mind explaining a little why? I'm so sorry, Trevor.
So that's your question, is why don't we give out that information?
Yes, please.
We don't give out that information for simply like what I think Molly opened it up with, is all these people you should have the majority of this knowledge already if you've been working for 4,000 hours in the industry. I mean, I had been working in the industry much longer than that when I took it, but that still didn't mean it wasn't a challenging exam. I still, when I saw the blueprint and how many different domains it was going to cover, I was honest with myself. I knew like where I need to study and where I didn't. And if we start coming out with the pass and fail rate, it would hurt it. It would hurt its integrity. We want 100% people to pass it. That's why we kind of have that vetting out of, having the 4,000 hours in. But we don't give out that because it just really wouldn't benefit anyone.
Excellent. Okay, I'm reading over to some very specific questions that relate to hours. So we have some questions that relate to self-employment, and this one might be one where we have to ask them to email us to look at their specific situation.
Yep.
But someone asks is like, hey, I'm self-employed. Is there a way for someone in my situation, how best to document my 4,000 hours? Or do I just need to email info@cheesesociety.org to talk about my specific situation? Or what's the best way to approach for applying to take the exam?
I can leave it to Jamie, but I would say that the best way, you fill it out the best way you can. But then if you do have very specific questions like that, I would email the info@cheesesociety.org.
So yeah, we have had a lot of self-employed folks take the exam over the years. All you need to do is where it says current job supervisor, just put self. And then this year we are asking people to submit a resume. So upload a resume with your application. Doesn't have to be anything fancy. We just want to know where you worked, when, approximately how many hours you worked there, and what you did. And that's really it. And then from that, we will make our decisions. So it's no problem at all if you're self-employed.
Excellent. So you can go ahead and fill out the application, or you can preemptively reach out. To go with that, we have a question of, I saw somewhere that there could be a split between 2,000 hours working with cheese and 2,000 hours with, for example, a food science classes and food science like university classes. Is that still the case?
So it's not specifically 2,000 hours of food science college classes. So officially it's 2,000 hours direct work with cheese, at least. And then the other 2,000 can be cheese education. So, if it was like a general biology or a general food science course, that might not give you enough hours because it wasn't about cheese or cheese adjacent things specifically.
Excellent. Thank you. And I hope that answered your questions, but if you still have them, email us at info@cheesesociety.org and we'll be happy to help you. Okay, and so next one, I have a question that a couple of you have asked in some different ways is let me pull it up. Does ACS offer, this one's directed for you, Molly, does ACS offer support in organizing study groups?
Okay, well, the short answer to that is no. ACS does not offer that support. So ACS, as the industry organization, trade organization, is the credentialing body of the ACS CCP exam. So we are not a trainer. We're not an educating body. So I always like to use the example of like law school. So like the organization that offers the bar exam isn't also offering the education for the bar exam. They're just offering the exam to test the knowledge that you acquired by going to law school. And so that's the role of ACS in this situation. ACS is really the one administering the exam, taking care of all the logistics and, executing the exams annually, but we are not an educating body. There's a lot of education available through ACS, if you attend conference, and there's, I think educational webinars on our website. There are ways to glean education from the American Cheese Society, but it is not intended to be CCP exam prep, if that makes sense. So there are courses out there. There's a lot of books out there. I believe that we have a list of our recommended resources, book resources on the website. So that is a great place to start. And yeah, everybody attacks prep a little bit differently. If it would be helpful, we could talk a little bit about how we've studied in the past but that's, the short answer to that question is no.
I will say what we have done in the past, though, is we have connected folks with other folks in the area who are also taking the test that year if they want to form their own study group. So obviously we don't then prep that study group with, like weekly sessions, but we just say, hey, this person, this person, this person are in your city. They're also taking the exam. And so if you're, say, the only one in your company that's taking it this year and you really want to have a study group, you can reach out to us and we can say, oh, so-and-so in your area is also taking it, maybe you want to reach out to them, form your own study group.
So that one is also email us at info@cheesesociety.org. We're happy to help in that particular way. Did we want to make any other comments with that one? Any other pieces? Did any of you want to talk about how you prepped for the exam at all as a little help?
Yeah, I'll jump in quickly. It is helpful to study with people, to have a group. And so just to piggyback off what they were just saying, that is helpful to go through and review and read. And there are plenty of tools on the website that'll take you to the answers that you need if you just take the time to read and try to get an understanding from this blueprint, the type of questions that could get asked. I think a lot of the information is there. What you don't want to do is ask people from the past what questions were on the exam, because the exam questions change over time. And I have seen people in the past just try to get a list of old questions just so they could speed through. I do not suggest that. That is a bad way to study. This isn't just about passing an exam. Of course, we want you to, but it's also all the knowledge that you're going to be gaining while studying and all the retention that you're going to have, because a lot of this information, like we've all been saying this whole time, a lot of it you already have locked away somewhere in your brain through your experience. You just need to find a way to get that unlocked, and studying with other people that are taking the exam is a great way to do that.
Excellent. Thank you, Nathan. To go with that, we have the question, does ACS provide any practice exams?
No, we do not. I mean, other than the 3 questions we just gave you, no, we do not.
The best way to describe it is the metaphor that Molly used with the law degree and the governing body.
Yep. And the main reason we gave you the 3 questions that we did is just an example of how they're laid out. I think that Nathan did a great job on pulling out the keywords of that pasteurization out of that question. We want to show you what distractors look like. So no, a quad does not have a fluffy white rind. And then like when it comes to a math question, like people don't normally associate cheese and math. So I think that was kind of confusing when people hear that there's math questions involved. So we wanted to give you an example of the type of math questions you might find.
Excellent. And I'm getting a couple of other questions that are related to like study buddy groups. Shoot us an email at info@cheesesociety.org and we'll try and see what we can do to help, okay? With what is within our power to help. Want to make sure we can try where we can. Okay, do we have any other questions that aren't related to study groups? Is there something else other question you guys might have about the process, about maybe some other places to go for resources, any other questions that we can answer for you? I'm going to give it a couple minutes, but thank you so much to our leadership from Certification Committee for coming out and doing this with us and going through some practice questions. I know it is always hard for talking about some of these different math questions and other different things in prep. So really, thank you so much for coming out and talking with the group. Everyone seems to, it was really appreciative. We're not getting any more questions right now, but is there any other advice that you 3 would like to share with our listeners as they're prepping for the exam and as they're thinking about, is this the year that I want to take it?
I'll share one thing that, so ever since I passed the exam, I've gone back to volunteer every year at the CCP exam because I do really believe in it. And one thing I'll see is people that'll have a stack of flashcards like 3 or 4 inches tall. And really, if you saw my stack of questions, it was very small stack. And that was because I really only made flashcards on the things that I was just really having the struggle of getting into memory. Everything else, kind of came pretty straightforward when it came to studying for it. There was a long list of books out on the website before, and I talked to a number of people to find out, okay, out of those books, which are the 2 or 3 ones that I really need to read, and or that I found most helpful. There's lots more books now, but there's a lot of great resources out there.
I would offer the other side of that coin and say that there are also a number of unverified resources that have tended to float around ACS circles for many years, including practice tests, Facebook groups, things of that nature, where the information that is distributed that way is not verified, does not necessarily come from reputable sources. And I have seen a lot of people spend a lot of time utilizing, non-verified resources in their attempt to study for the CCP. So a word of caution that if, another monger hands something over and you can't really verify the source of it, it's like, use your critical thinking hat and decide for yourself if you think this is a good use of your time, or if it could be potentially, distributing misinformation, because there's plenty of resources out there in the world like that as well, unfortunately.
Thank you, Molly. Do you have anything you wanted to add, Nathan?
Most of it's been said. Be careful of certain things that are already floating around, but I just want to reiterate, once you learn, if you have a friend or somebody that that's taking the exam as well, buddy up. That to me is the biggest thing you can do, is find somebody else that's taking it. If you have somebody in your organization or somebody that that is a CCP, you could ask them to be a mentor in a way, and ask them.
That's a great idea.
How they studied and what helped them along the way. And that's going to be a good guide for you as well. So with me, it's all about that human interaction and getting those people that have either already taken it or taking it with you.
Yeah, and Nathan, that's an excellent point. And to your point, if you don't know who the CCPs are, go visit ACS website. There's a CCP directory on there, and you can look through. It's alphabetical, it's by state. You can filter it several different ways. Look through there, find somebody maybe that might be able to be a good mentor to you.
I will say from my times at ACS, the CCP network is sometimes the most giving and kindest network when it comes down to it.
Yes.
They really are a group where I know I would feel nervous about cold emailing or calling someone. With this group, they're so wonderful and want to help. Yeah. Feel free to reach out. Like, you will be so surprised how many will be like, you need a hand study, I'm here for you. And they will be ready to help you in any way.
CCPs want you to exceed.
Yeah, yes.
Succeed, that's it, succeed.
The unofficial motto of the CCP exam.
Okay, well, we're getting some questions that people are like, can I watch this again later? Like, I missed the first part. Yes, we are recording this. You'll be able to watch it here on Facebook. We'll have it all live on our website, not behind any paywall that you can see. And we're also going to have it in our learning center, if you're a member, that you can access along with the PowerPoint that has a couple links in it to our website. So you will be able to view this recording again. We made this so hopefully you can look at it, maybe share it with some of your other coworkers that might be thinking about doing their CCP this year. Or if you're thinking about it a few months from now after a closing and maybe I want to do it next year, and come back and watch this again. So on that note, we're a little bit over time, so we're going to head and close down. But thank you so much for everyone that came along. We really appreciate you coming to ask us questions. We thank you again to our certification group. All of you that are watching, if you still have questions, email us at info@cheesesociety.org. If we don't have the question answer right this second, we'll be happy to try and help you however we can. So thank you everyone for attending today. We hope you all have a great day. Bye, everybody.